What is going on, guys? It is another Monday night. I am the Solomonster. It is March 23rd, 2026. 3 weeks away from WrestleMania. How are we feeling about the build to WrestleMania now, 3 weeks out? I feel pretty good about these main events. I think we're in a pretty good place where the main events are concerned. There's still work to be done on both shows. Tonight, though, we took a big step forward. We actually got some real physicality between these two guys. It was Roman Reigns and CM Punk yet again in the closing segment of the show. This was another Raw where I felt like they started hot, they ended pretty good, and then really the middle of the show was very middle of the road. Seems to be a pattern over the last few weeks. Next week they're going to be in Madison Square Garden, so we'll see what they have planned for MSG, traditionally their home base. They usually save some special stuff for the Garden. Sorry, Boston. But that's how I felt. I felt like the opening segment of the show was very good. The closing of the show I enjoyed. And then everything in the middle was just very hit or miss. But Roman and Punk were in the final segment of the show. Roman took his time coming out. Punk was out there for the majority of it. I thought Punk was lighting it up on the mic pretty good. And the Usos come out. Now, the Usos, we saw them involved in this a few weeks ago, and I didn't know if they were going to kind of work them back in there or not. They were a very big part of that closing segment tonight. Roman Reigns was, he came in towards the tail end of it. Took his sweet time, too, strolling down to the ring. But it's Jey Uso who's kind of the wild card in this whole thing now, because he's the one who egged on Roman Reigns tonight to really put the boots to CM Punk, and what ended up happening was Roman didn't just spear him. He took him outside the ring, he power-bombed him through the announce desk and left him laying, although Punk was laughing when the show was over. Did you notice that? Punk was laughing. He said, I don't need help. I don't need help. Roman Reigns is the one who apparently always needs his cousins to help him. It's been sort of a recurring theme over the last few years. But Jey Uso was out there tonight acting more like the right-hand man than the Yeet Man. He's sort of the wild card. He's this loose cannon now who just, he yells and screams and he gets all wound up and he's very emotional. And then Jimmy is trying to calm him down. And tonight, Jey was the one who was out there telling Roman when Roman was about to leave, now you better get on him. You better go after him. You got to stand up for our family. So Roman Reigns went ahead, he listened to Jey Uso, and he went after CM Punk. I don't know what role the Usos will ultimately play in the actual match of WrestleMania. It seems to me like they have to be there. They don't have to come out to the ring with Roman, but that they're going to factor into the match in some way. What I would rather not see is just another Bloodline reunion. You watch these shows, and the takeaway is that we're building towards an OG reunion of the Bloodline with the Usos and Roman. We already have one. I can't even say we're building to it. We have them on screen working together. But we don't need, Bloodline 2.0. I just think that would be incredibly lazy. Unless there's some sort of new element that they can add to it. That's not really a direction that excites me. So I'm not sure what the end game is here as far as the Usos' participation in all of this. But I like the segment tonight a lot more than I did the segment from last week. I thought last week's segment was very underwhelming. It was very mid. Tonight they needed to really come back with something big, and honestly, it was CM Punk all by himself in the ring, just talking about, last week Roman called him old. And so he went into this whole thing about how I don't hide the fact that I'm old. I wear it as a badge of honor. Got a good zinger in there about Roman, using Just for Men to cover up the gray, and he was really, he was taking that one line from last week, which seemed very silly, that he would kind of flip out over that. And it was very silly. But I like what he had to say about it. Tonight, I like working the Usos in there and Punk, going after them. And I don't know. For me, it just, I like where they are. I am wondering, though, what they will do over these next 3 weeks. It seems to me like you would expect CM Punk is going to get a measure of revenge next week. Maybe he's going to lay him out with a GTS. But where do they go from here? Are we going to have a contract signing? We had a contract signing for Cody and Randy last week. You would think we'll have a contract signing for these two guys at some point, maybe that last Raw before Mania. I do think there's 1 week where Roman is not supposed to be on the show. I think Brock is there every week between now and Mania, I believe. Roman might be missing a week. I want to say it's the week after next, and then I think he comes back for that last Raw before Mania. But I think we're in a good place right now, right? There's still work to be done, improvements to be made to make things a little more exciting. But I think as far as this story goes, they kind of got the train back on the tracks this week, was my takeaway at the end of the show. Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar, they haven't really done much if you think about it, but what they have done so far has been excellent. You know, the segment last week to set up their WrestleMania match was fucking great. It was the best part of the entire show. We got the match that a lot of us wanted to see. That feels like a WrestleMania match. And so this week, it's like, well, maybe Brock will, get his heat back and he'll lay him out with an F5. And they actually teased that. But no, they went with Oba Femi for the second week in a row. Second week in a row, laying out Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar looking just looking stunned by the entire thing. It feels to me like, okay, now we're building to, maybe next week, but one of these weeks, Oba's going to get his. It can't just be one-sided between now and WrestleMania. But what they did tonight made Oba look like he belonged. And that's really what they need to do right now. This is the first really, truly big match of this man's career. His first WrestleMania. And it's a match against Brock Lesnar. So it's a lot to put on his shoulders right out of the gate, but you still have to tell people that this guy is special. I mean, I think they could tell just by looking at him. But you want to put him in a position where he comes off as special. You want to put him in a position where he comes off as, oh, okay, this is the guy. And they've done that now for 2 weeks in a row. And Brock has too. Brock is doing his part in all of this. But so far, so good. I don't want to jinx it, but so far, so good. I've enjoyed what they've done with those two. Finn Balor was back on the show tonight to a very lukewarm reaction from the fans in Boston. This was his first appearance since he was booted out of the Judgment Day. And I'm not saying he didn't get a decent reaction, but nothing terribly impressive. But he did come out tonight to go after Dominic Mysterio. I'm still not convinced we're getting a singles match at WrestleMania. I'm still wondering, are we looking at a singles match, or are we looking at them being worked into some sort of multi-man Intercontinental title match? The story really is Finn and Dom. It should be one-on-one. I'm still not sure what they're doing, though. I'm not sure what they're doing with Penta. I'm not sure what they're doing with a lot of people on this show, including one person in particular, who for the third straight week was MIA on this show. Were it not for CM Punk in the closing segment mentioning his name, Gunther would not have even gotten a mention on the show tonight. His name was mentioned by Punk in his promo later in the show. Were it not for that, he wouldn't even be mentioned. He would be like an afterthought. You would think that not only did John Cena retire, and not only did AJ Styles retire, but Gunther just said, you know what? I've done all I can do. I can't go any higher than that. I'll retire too. And he just voluntarily stepped away from the ring. 3 weeks in a row, barely even a mention of this man on TV. It really all does seem to hinge on Rey Mysterio's status. He's obviously earmarked to wrestle Rey. Otherwise, this doesn't make any sense at all. And everything is just hinging on whether or not he's going to be medically cleared in time to come back. It's crazy to sit here and think that Ludwig Kaiser, under a mask, is a lot more likely to have a WrestleMania match this year than Gunther. Now that's why. And I like Kaiser, but that's fucking wild. Just the thought of it. In case you were wondering whether or not we had a Gunther appearance on the show tonight. The answer is no. You know who else showed up on Raw tonight? Gunther didn't, but I Show Speed. Now look, the last time I remember seeing I Show Speed on a WWE show was that incredible spear at the Royal Rumble last year by Braun Breaker, where he cut that man in half. And I have no issue with I Show Speed. He's built up a very impressive social media following, 180 million subscribers or something on YouTube, something crazy like that. And he's very athletic, and it's clear they want to do stuff with him. And I guess tonight might have been a hint that he might be at WrestleMania. I don't know. Again, the idea of him being at WrestleMania and Jelly Roll having a match at WrestleMania and not Gunther is just crazy to me. But I saw somebody online and it's not exactly apples to apples, but I get what they were trying to say. It would be the equivalent of having Brock Lesnar be the one in 21-1 and beat the Undertaker the way he did at WrestleMania, and then you don't follow up on it, and you just do nothing with him for SummerSlam. You do nothing with him for Survivor Series. I was going to say, because Brock took time off after WrestleMania that year anyway, but not following up on something like that. Like, you wouldn't even be able to fathom that. Like, they chose him to be the one in 21-1, so obviously they have big plans for him. And he ended up beating John Cena, winning the World Championship. And here we are with Gunther, and no matter what you think of the guy, putting him in that position to be the guy to retire those two names, and him being in the spot that he's in right now, you got to admit, I mean, that's pretty fucked up. But I mentioned IShowSpeed because he made an appearance on Raw tonight. And there was an item on the Wrestling Observer website that I noticed. I glanced at right before Raw went on the air tonight. This was the original story they posted. Brian Alvarez is reporting a surprise is in store for tonight's show in Boston. I guess this is what Brian tweeted. Am told there is an extremely big name surprise on Raw. And I saw that and I'm like, not just a big name surprise on Raw, an extremely big name surprise on Raw. Now my mind is racing with what this could possibly mean. Maybe people are right. Maybe The Rock is going to show up tonight as part of the, and he kind of did. I'll get to that later. But now my mind is racing with like, who could this be? You know, what is this mega big name that he's talking about? And then they updated the story a little while later. This was the update, okay, on f4w.wrestling.com. Streaming and social media star IShowSpeed was shown during the open of Raw, hanging out with Javon Evans. Brian Alvarez has since confirmed that Speed was the big name in question. Now, I put this to you. Do you consider IShowSpeed to be an extremely big name surprise here on Monday Night Raw? Because I don't. So I have to assume that was what was told to Brian. He didn't just decide on his own that this is an extremely big name that's on Raw tonight. What a fucking dumb thing to say. Whoever fed that information to him? I'm like, boy, what a letdown that was. And he didn't even do much. He got cursed by Danhausen and he did the Penta strut. That's about it. Holy shit. I'm not saying IShowSpeed is not popular. That's not what I'm saying. But in the context of this wrestling show, if you're a wrestling fan who's getting ready to sit down and watch Monday Night Raw, and you see a report pop up that says there's an extremely big name surprise on Raw tonight, IShowSpeed or Jelly Roll or any of these people are not going to be the first fucking name that you think of when you think of mega big surprise on the show. So I'm glad they at least amended the report and didn't just completely take it down. Also, you should be aware that Cody Rhodes is going to have his first interview since Randy Orton nearly killed him on SmackDown 2 weeks ago. He's going to speak for the first time, not on SmackDown, but on the Pat McAfee show on Wednesday at 1:05 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to hear what Cody Rhodes has to say, you don't have to wait for Friday. You could just tune into Pat McAfee's show if you're interested. This is your Raw review. Again, it is March 23rd, 2026. I am the Solomonster. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. We are approaching 91,000 subs here on the channel. I think maybe we're 28 away, something like that. So who knows? Maybe it'll be one of you tonight. But go ahead and subscribe. Super chats are open as well. So I will be reading your messages as we get a little deeper here into the show. You'll see them popping up on screen. And it is the easiest and most direct way to support the channel and what I do. And I appreciate it. I also want to mention, if you missed it, Sound Off episode 956 dropped yesterday on all podcast platforms. Got some good shit on there. So if you missed it, go ahead and check that out. Let's bring up the wheel. Let's spin the wheel before we get into this here. And let's find out how many likes we need to do Be the Booker tonight.
Look at Richie Rich over here.
Oh my God.
All this money
in the middle of a spin.
I just want you to know, I think you rock. I don't mean The Rock, A-Rock. You rock. And I just wanted you to know that.
Was that Randy Bobandy? Oh my God, I believe it was. Randy Bobandy with a $100 super chat. Part of the bomb squad tonight. You're just like Boots. You're like Boots the other night. It was a week ago, actually, 316 day. I had Boots drop a 316 bomb on my ass. Now we got Randy Bobandy. Hey, Randy, thank you. Says, I know I'm not as active on the streams as I used to be. Wanted to send a Bobandy bomb. I like that. And just say I'm so happy to see your channel blowing up and getting new podcasts. Glad to be a part of the journey all these years. God bless Solo. That's very nice. I appreciate that. Yeah, Randy's been around for a while. I'm glad you've been on this journey with me, Randy. Feel free to pop up a little more often. Tawab says, it didn't work. Solomonster watched Scream 7 out of nowhere. Why Solo? Why? I'm asking myself that same question now that I've watched Scream 7. I don't think you guys warned me enough. I blame you. Anyway, 475 likes. That's the goal for tonight. To do Be the Booker. Now let's start from the beginning of the show, which actually, now that I look back on this show, this was the best thing on the show. And it was Brock Lesnar again. Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, they were out first to open things up. Lesnar was wearing a new FAF5 shirt, which plays off of Paul Heyman's promo from last week when he came out to confront Seth Rollins and he told him FAFO, FAFO, FAF5. And then Brock came out. So we had loud Oba chants. Heyman said that Oba Femi is overhyped by WWE and accused him of taking advantage of Lesnar the way that he did last week after Brock had just fought off so many of the masked men. Yeah, he was fighting off the Putty Patrol. Apparently that was very unfair. I mean, Brock didn't look like he broke a sweat in doing it, but apparently this was unfair. Said we've heard this narrative, many times over the years. Whoever beats Brock will be the next big thing. Lesnar conquered the Undertaker's undefeated streak, and there were many men. There was a whole line of men who were supposed to be the person to beat the one in 21-1. So he went down the list of names. He mentioned Goldberg. He said, nah. Braun Strowman. Nope. Dean Ambrose. And then that got a good rise out of the crowd. And of course, I had to see some tweets. Oh, is this a hint? Is this a hint that he could be on his way back? There's a better chance that I will be wrestling Brock Lesnar next year in Saudi. I will be the Saudi monster wrestling Brock at WrestleMania than Jon Moxley going back to WWE. He ain't going back. Certainly no time soon, but I don't think he's ever going back, to be honest with you. But that got a nice reaction from the crowd. He mentioned Bobby Lashley. That didn't get any reaction. He mentioned AJ Styles. And he mentioned John Cena was supposed to be that guy. And when he mentioned John Cena and the fact that they dominated him, that got loud boos from the crowd. Said none of them can do it. And Oba Femi would not either. Oba Femi will be conquered at WrestleMania. So that brought darkness upon the arena. Oba Femi's music hit. He strutted out down to the ring, gets into the ring, and they have a face-to-face. Brock kicks him, tries to lift him up for an F5. Oba slips out, and he clotheslines him out over the top rope to the floor. And the people are going nuts for this. And just like last week, the camera gets right up in front of Brock's face, and he just has this shocked expression on his face. Like he cannot believe that for the second week in a row, he has been left laying. He has been dominated. He has been embarrassed by this rookie. Second time in a row. And Oba's just kind of looking down at, like, lording over him from the ring. It's amazing how a simple facial expression can mean so much. It's very true. You could tell an entire story just by the look on your face. Brock knew the assignment. He did exactly what needed to be done here, right? You kind of look at him in these segments and it's like, well, Brock's not really doing much of anything, but Brock is actually doing a lot in terms of trying to help Oba Femi get over here. And so Oba stared him down, and Lesnar and Heyman made their exit. And on commentary, they made it a point to say, Michael Cole did, that this was the first time that Brock Lesnar had backed down from someone. And Brock was kind of laughing it off once he got to the aisle, but he was backing down, and then he just left. So this was another really good segment. Again, second week in a row here that Oba has gotten over on Lesnar. You know there's going to be payback coming soon. Everybody watching this right now who would like to see Oba Femi succeed at WrestleMania should be hoping and praying that something bad will happen to Oba on Raw either next week or the week after, because the longer this goes, where he continues to dominate and embarrass Brock Lesnar, the chances of Oba Femi winning at WrestleMania are nil. Even coming out of a segment like this, honestly, it feels to me like, if you ask me right now, and it's still 3 weeks out, I'm not going to do all my predictions now, but if you were to ask me right now, who do I think is going to win the match at WrestleMania? It feels like Brock Lesnar is going to win. And while I would like to see Oba Femi win, I think the idea that Brock wins, but then they run it back, maybe it's SummerSlam, and then Oba beats Brock, and they kind of build up to that, is fine. You see how Oba is already over with the audience, and he hasn't really done all that much since he was called up. I mean, he's going to be fine as long as they continue to build him up like this. You know, one loss at WrestleMania won't be a killer. But as I sit here right now, it just feels like the likelihood is a lot better that Brock is going to win and not Oba. But again, we'll see what they do in Madison Square Garden next week. See if Brock gets his revenge on that show. And if he does, what does that look like? Is it a simple F5? Is he going to F5 him through the announce desk? They're going to have some big guy brawl out into the parking lot? I don't know. But they have me invested in this. I want to see now what they do next. They've done everything right so far as Oba Femi goes since he walked out to accept this open challenge. It's only 2 weeks, but so far so good. Everything's right. Everything is set exactly where it needs to be. They have 3 weeks to fuck it up. I don't think they will. But it's possible. I'm trying not to be too skeptical about this, but so far, so good. And by the way, second week in a row that Brock Lesnar has done the opening segment of the show. Why? Because he can't wait to get the hell out of there. I'm sure before Seg 3, Brock was already in transit to the airport. He was on his jet, and he was on his way back to Saskatchewan. Another job well done. We had the Usos, non-title, against Austin Theory and Logan Paul, the Vision, or what's left of the Vision. During the match, Michael Cole dropped a quick mention of Dennis Condrey's passing of the Midnight Express. I didn't rewind it. I'm pretty sure he mispronounced his name and called him Dennis Conry, but it's the thought that counts. They at least acknowledged him. I didn't even know if they were going to acknowledge him. He didn't get a graphic or anything like that, but truly, one half of one of the greatest tag teams of all time, one of the greatest tag team wrestlers in the history of the business. He was a big deal, back then. And I'm glad they at least mentioned him. Jay speared Theory and he went up top. Logan crotched him. And so Jimmy ran over. Logan, though, ran him into the ring post. And at this point, Logan Paul pulls out the brass knucks. And the referee is busy with Jey Uso, so he doesn't see any of this. And before Logan could do anything, they play LA Knight's music. And he comes out of the crowd. He runs Logan into the ring steps. He grabs the knucks. And he tosses the knucks to Jey Uso. So Jey Uso hits Theory with the knucks right in front of the referee. So the referee calls for the disqualification. So Knight was actually leaving with the Usos when Alicia Taylor made the announcement that the Usos were disqualified and therefore the winners of the match were the Vision. This pissed off Jey Uso, who I'm not sure why he was so pissed off. It's just clear cut. He deserved to be disqualified. But again, he's kind of unhinged right now, and so he charges back to the ring, and he blasts Logan. Logan had his back turned, And Jay was throwing that right hand with the knucks right as Logan was turning. So it looked great. I mean, he blasted him right in the side of the head. And down goes Logan Paul. This was their way of doing a non-finish so that they can run this match back again. And they may still end up doing it at WrestleMania, but we found out later in the show the match is not going to happen yet at WrestleMania. They're going to be running this back actually in Madison Square Garden next week. And it's going to be a New York City street fight. So we know that match is coming. How LA Knight fits into all this, honestly, I have no idea. And I'm not sure if he can fit into anything at WrestleMania physically. I want to give a shout out here to Siraj on X. He sent me this image from the show tonight. I want you to take a look at LA Knight's left elbow. That doesn't look good. That does not look good at all. Knight has not worked a match since the Elimination Chamber. So maybe there's more to this than we know. I mean, that's pretty ugly. It looks like there's a ball. It looks like there's a ball in his elbow. You know what it reminds me of? And Cena's might have been a little bit worse. But when Cena had that, it was like a bursa sack in his elbow, and he had to leave. It was right after he lost the championship at SummerSlam to Daniel Bryan. And he actually worked the match with his elbow like that. But then he had to go away. That's kind of what that reminds me of. So, I don't know. Could be something to keep an eye on. As far as his status for WrestleMania. They haven't even hinted at any sort of match for him. And maybe we got our answer as to why. Because, again, that's pretty ugly right there. But in the back later, the Usos and Knight, they were walking along. And Jimmy thanked Knight for the assist. He thanked him for the help out there. Knight joked with Jay that, he could have at least hid the knucks. And Jay snapped back that everybody had to get got. Everybody's got to get got, according to Jey Uso. So Knight said that he was starting to sound like Roman Reigns. And Jay didn't like that very much. He walked off. Jimmy told Knight, just like I told CM Punk, you got to mind your words when you talk about our family. And very strategically, in the background behind them, there was a truck. And right there on the side of the truck, the one face on the side of the truck, The Rock. With the people's eyebrow and everything. Nice placement there. I don't think it's indicative of anything. I'm not saying they didn't set that shot up strategically to have The Rock there, but do I think it means The Rock is coming back? No, I don't. But it was like, I see what you're doing there. And I'm not falling for it again either. Because if you remember the build up to WrestleMania 40, was it 40 or 41? No, it was 40. It had to be 40. This actually might have been the segment outside Cody's bus when The Rock kicked his ass. If you remember, there was a truck in the background. And who was on the side of the truck? Stone Cold Steve Austin. And that got a lot of people, myself included, very excited because I'm looking at that going, oh man, because I thought for sure that Austin was coming out, during the whole Avengers Endgame finish to that match at WrestleMania. And as we have learned since, they wanted him there. He was going to get the Undertaker spot, but Austin couldn't do it. But do I think they set that shot up because they knew Austin was coming to Mania? I don't know about that, but believe me, the way these shots are set up, nothing is by accident. So Becky Lynch was out to the ring next to drop a mention, of course, of Sports Illustrated and the Bleacher Report. But she also talked about how you people boo me, and yet you cheer someone that abandoned you for a decade. Becky took 10 months off, not 10 years, and they got tired of seeing her succeed. So she went home to the people that really appreciate her, and when she came back, she went for the Intercontinental title, and she made that championship important. She made it the most important title in wrestling. She's proud of that title, but now she has to watch as AJ prances around like she deserves it. So Becky tried to take a break, she said, after the Elimination Chamber, but when she went home, her daughter was singing that stupid Light It Up song and skipping around the house and flipping her hair like that Jersey scum called her Jersey scum. It's like she doesn't realize her mother is the greatest female wrestler of all time. Meanwhile, AJ's greatest claim to fame was that she mastered the Divas era. And she said, well, I murdered the Divas era. She put a stake through its heart and ripped the wings off the butterfly belt. And that's exactly what she'll do to AJ Lee. I'm sitting here going, hell yeah. Amen. So that brought out AJ Lee, who sprinted to the ring just as Becky bailed out of the ring. She went off into the crowd. AJ grabbed the microphone, and she stood on top of the announce desk to address Becky. Her microphone was not working, so for the first, 5 or 10 seconds, she was basically talking to herself. I don't think she said anything of any great significance. They fixed the microphone issue very quickly. She said that she walked Becky like a dog every time they were in the ring together, and she figured Becky wanted to get embarrassed again. She was okay with that because maybe that would finally get Becky out of her life. Maybe she would make Becky tap out on the grandest stage of them all. She would show the world why she's the best wrestler of her generation, the best wrestler of Becky's generation, and maybe even the next generation too. I don't know what that says about the next generation coming up, but it's not good. I mean, not to take away from AJ Lee, but there are a lot of women who are ahead of her right now. But she's talking about how maybe I'll be the best of all the different generations. And she'll show why she's your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler. And apparently Becky's daughter's favorite wrestler. She said at WrestleMania, it's going to be you and me for the Intercontinental Championship. So Becky said AJ just skipped right into her trap. WrestleMania is her domain. That's where she's the man. The last time AJ competed at WrestleMania, she walked into the office the very next night and resigned. And we didn't hear from her for over a decade. She'll save AJ the trouble. She'll end her, and we will never hear from her again. Welcome to the big time. I like Becky's line about AJ mastered the Divas era. Well, I murdered it. I murdered it, and I murdered that stupid butterfly belt. May it rest in piss. I hated that belt then. I still hate that belt. I have no nostalgia for that belt. I have no nostalgia for the spinner belt either. That can rest in piss too. Big difference between the women's division and the way that they were portrayed back then as compared to now. We know that. It's very well documented. But I like how she was kind of drawing the distinction here between those two eras. Otherwise, a very kind of basic, straightforward promo that did what it had to do to set up the match for WrestleMania. The only surprise here is that they didn't add a stipulation. Now, there's still time for that. They have 3 weeks until we get to WrestleMania. I have to imagine that they will add a stipulation. They've already done the one match at Elimination Chamber. I mean, we had the mixed tag match last year, but they did the one match at Elimination Chamber as a straight match. I don't see them just doing a straight match here. And the way I look at it, you have 2 women here who have submission finishes. So this is a match to me that's just ripe for either the submission stipulation or an I Quit match. If I had to venture a guess, that's what I think we're looking at. Got the disarm her, right? And you've got AJ's finish, the Black Widow. It just makes sense to me. We had Javon Evans, one-on-one against Grayson Waller. Kofi Kingston was out there in Waller's corner. Remember, though, he's been trying to recruit Javon for the New Day. So he had an ulterior motive in being out there for this match. I have to say this. I cannot remember the last time that we saw Grayson Waller on this show. I don't remember the last time I saw Grayson Waller wrestle at all. You know, usually he's making these random appearances with the New Day during the commercial breaks on these shows, or if New Day wrestles on Raw, he's in their corner. But so I don't know if this is a new thing or not, if this is the first time he's done it, or he's been doing it and I just haven't seen him, but he was wearing long tights instead of the boxer shorts. Those like baggy, boxer shorts. This is a better look for him. He should stick with this. I think this is the better look for Grayson Waller. Now, Javon Evans, he nearly brained himself in like the first 90 seconds of this match. Waller was outside the ring. And Javon, of course, he's the bouncy boy. So right out of the gate, he does this big dive out of the ring. And he landed headfirst on the ground. Not only did he land headfirst on the ground, this was like in the aisleway, but I think there was like a giant metal plate. I don't know if it was a diamond plate or what it was, and I think he landed on that. And when I say that he landed headfirst on the floor, that's not even really completely accurate. He went into the floor. He took a header into the floor. And it was very scary, and he stood up, he started shaking his neck out, probably to make sure that he can move it. Evans, though, in the end, finished him off later on with a Rana off the top rope to a big reaction. Then he raced back up to the top, he hit the OG cutter, and he picked up the win. Kofi didn't seem too bothered by the outcome here. He was kind of amused by the whole thing, and he tried to explain to Waller after that he would rather see him win on his own, the right way, than, get involved and then risk him being disqualified. Sure. I thought this was a good little match here. I enjoyed this. Javon did all the things that, Javon does in his matches, and the people like it, and the people react to it. He was super over with the crowd, but I got to give credit to Grayson Waller. We don't get to see him on this show very often. We don't get to see him in singles matches very often. And I thought that his job here was very clear. This match was not about getting Grayson Waller over. There is no plan for Grayson Waller. There is no story for Grayson Waller. It's about getting Javon Evans over because he's still the new guy on the roster, right? He's the young OG, and this was about really being a highlight reel for him. Waller, though, I thought for his part, did a very good job. And I think he's somebody who we need to see more of on these shows. Part of the reason that it's hard to care about him is because they don't give you a reason to. And then you sort of forget until you see him in a match like this. Yeah, he's pretty good. How come they're not doing more with him? I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. So it would be nice if they actually would try to come up with, something for him to do, like a mid-card story, a mid-card feud, but something that would get him on the show consistently and break him away from the New Day. I don't even remember how he got involved with the New Day to begin with. That's how long this has been going on for. And I was like, how did he get involved with Kofi and Woods? And I don't even remember. Like, why is he still hanging around with them? Why do they have him with them? I don't know. So maybe wait until Woods is healed up from his shoulder injury and comes back, and then they can kind of boot him to the side. And then maybe try to come up with something for him to do. I think a fresh coat of paint and just a different story would go a long way. Just food for thought. Because I thought he looked good in the ring tonight. Backstage, Paul Heyman sauntered on up to Adam Pearce, who was standing outside the trainer's room, which is probably where Javon Evans is headed after that last match. Heyman told him he wants Pearce to do something for him. He wants Pearce to schedule a match for Raw next week in Madison Square Garden with the Vision against the Usos for the tag team titles. He wants it to be a New York City street fight. And Pearce told him, "You've given me something to consider." Heyman went to go leave, and Pearce asked him, "Where are you going?" You asked for time to address Seth Rollins. And that time is now. So he told him, "Get your ass out to the ring." And so after a break, Heyman was in the ring, and he's leaning on the ropes, and he's looking dead into the hard cam. And he said he was having a bad night because there was no one left for him to hide behind. He said Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, they're not going to be back anytime soon. Brock Lesnar already left the building because of fucking course he did. Like I said, he was gone after by the third segment of the show, he was already in flight. They said Logan Paul and Austin Theory, they're both semi-conscious, which leaves me. He called Seth Rollins his stalker. And WWE is not big enough for the both of them. Heyman said that wasn't a challenge for a WrestleMania match. Now, I will have a complete and total meltdown here on this stream if Gunther has no match at WrestleMania, but Paul Heyman does. Okay, that's where that's my red line that cannot be crossed. It's one thing for Jelly Roll to have a match on the show or I Show Speed, but if you put Paul Heyman in a match on the WrestleMania card, I'm going to freak out. But he said that's not what this is. He's not putting out any challenges. He said maybe it was time Rollins came out and just put him out of his misery.
I am the learning tree.
Speaking of misery.
Thanks, guys.
Timing of that tweet. Timing of that super chat was impeccable. Thank you, Barry. Thank you for the tweet. I still got my mind on sad tweet from this past week. I had some fun talking about that on the podcast. So a masked man enters through the crowd, stands up on top of the announce desk, pulls the mask off, and reveals Seth Rollins. So 4 Boston police officers immediately show up in front of the announce desk, and Paul Heyman is smiling from the ring. And the cops lead Rollins through the crowd. They don't cuff him or anything. He's going. He's cooperating. As they're escorting him through the crowd to the back, Heyman is running his mouth about, how he took out a restraining order on Rollins. You're not supposed to be within 50 feet of me, which means that you are in violation of the order, which means that you have just committed a felony, which means that you are going to jail. It means you are going to prison, which means your wife is going to divorce you and is going to end up with half the locker room, which is quite the comment to make. He said that he would adopt their daughter. And at that point, Rollins, he cut away from the cops because by this point, they were kind of over where the stage was. So he cut through the stage. He ran down the aisleway. He charged into the ring. Heyman, the only thing that Heyman could do at this point, he just threw the microphone at Seth, which I thought was funny. And then Seth dropped him with one punch. Cops get in the ring. They handcuff Stone Cold Seth Rollins. And they escorted him out of the building while Heyman just sat in the corner and smiled. Like his plan had worked. Seth and Becky's daughter, Rue, is going to be very excited watching this show. I mean, all the times her name was mentioned. All the times that, not her name, but all the times that she was mentioned on this show. Not only by her mother, but by Paul Heyman. She's like a little rock star. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria against Asuka and Kairi Sane. I like that name better. Who's a sage? Says ice cold Seth Rollins. Yeah. How did we go from Stone Cold Steve Austin to ice cold Seth Rollins? What a difference 25 years can make. Bayley hit a Bayley to belly that left Asuka laying on top of the announce desk late in the match. So she climbed up on top of the barricade. She came off with a diving elbow that missed when Asuka moved. So Asuka and Kairi, they're outside. I don't know if they're arguing or whatever, but they're just standing around. And Lyra Valkyria is in the ring, and she comes through the ropes with a diving drop kick onto both women. Lyra then puts Kairi back in the ring. She hits her with her Nightwing finish, and she picks up the win. So Bayley crashed and burned on the announce desk, but Lyra really is the one that saved it for him. So they got along fine here. All those signs of like dissension between them. I mean, that's months ago at this point. I think I even pointed out the other week, the whole story about Bayley and this multiple personality, or if you piss her off, like she's fucking Bruce Banner. That's all gone. I mean, it seems to be dropped. I mean, they haven't done anything with that in many, many weeks. So they were fully on the same page here. When the match was over, Jackie Redmond got into the ring to interview Valkyria. And so Bayley had a message for Nia Jax and Lash Legend. She mentioned that next week we're going to be in the world's most famous arena. Now, what did they think was going to happen when they mentioned the world's most famous arena here in Boston? This crowd, this was more heat than anything got on this entire show outside of this segment. This got more heat than anything else on the show. New York City, Madison Square Garden was the biggest heel on Monday Night Raw tonight. So the boos are raining down on poor Bayley here. And I mean, loud boos here from the jealous Boston crowd. I mean, it's understandable, I mean, they're just upset that the original Boston Garden doesn't exist anymore. And New York has the more famous garden. So Bayley said, hold up. Wait a second here. Bayley and Lyra are going to beat Nia and Lash. How's that sound? And everybody cheered, and Bayley said, okay, good. We'll end on that note. We know where this is going. I mean, this is all building to a multi-team match at WrestleMania because we've seen that the Bella Twins had their shot, and that got all fucked up. Charlotte and Alexa, did they get their rematch? Who got the women's tag title match a couple weeks ago? Was it them? I think it was them. You could tell I like half care about this. But everyone's getting their shot in the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, and then there's going to be a no contest or there's going to be a disqualification. And in the end, it's all going to build to 5 or 6 teams fighting over the tag team titles of WrestleMania. That's basically where this is headed. So we go backstage, and IShowSpeed is there. Apparently, Brian Alvarez's favorite wrestler. And Penta was teaching him how to do the Penta strut. Dragon Lee walked in. Speed asked if he's a real dragon. And Lee said he was. And Show told him, I'm a dog. And then he barked and he left. Okay. So Penta told Dragon Lee he would give him a rematch for the IC title whenever he wants it. That was a great match they had last week. Adam Pearce elsewhere was talking to Speed after this. And Speed said he was having the time of his life. Danhausen shows up. And he asks Speed, how do you have so many followers? Or subscribers? So Danhausen has an idea that he wants to pitch Speed. He says, why don't you give me your password? Give me your YouTube password. And then we could do our own YouTube show called I Show Speedhausen. And then we can split the profits. And Speed turns him down, and Danhausen curses him. So now I fully expect IShowSpeed is going to wake up tomorrow and like 90 million YouTube subs are just going to vanish. I don't know, Speed sometimes, in those videos that he posts, like when he goes on these different trips, I forgot where he was a few months ago. He was, I don't know, vacationing somewhere, wherever he was, and he was... wasn't hang gliding. I don't know what the hell it was that he was riding in, like over the pyramids. And I'm watching this and I'm like getting sweaty palms just watching it. So I'm like, oh, don't fall out of the plane or whatever it is. So I don't know. We got to watch now. He's been cursed by Danhausen. Yeah, this was the dumbest of the Danhausen segments so far. People still pop when he pops up on TV, but you got to give him something fun to do. Something good. Backstage, Asuka blamed Kairi for their loss and told her to make it up to her. So Asuka left, and at that point, Io Sky showed up. I was so flummoxed by the fact that Gunther had not been on the show for 3 weeks in a row. I didn't even realize that Io Sky had not shown up on the show. So Io shows up, and she's trying to console Kairi, and she says, I know we've had our ups and downs recently, but you don't deserve to be treated like this. You deserve better. And then we hear Asuka. Kairi! And off goes Kairi Sane. When Io turns around, though, Raquel Rodriguez, I don't know if it's Raquel Rodriguez or Andre the Giant, but Raquel Rodriguez is standing there, and apparently she grew 6 inches because she was just fucking towering. I mean, Io looked like a small child. I know that Raquel, I think, is taller than her, but Raquel ain't that tall. I don't know if she had lifts in her boots. I don't know if they had her standing on a box. I don't know what it was. But she just looked like a giant hovering over Io Sky here. And she challenged Io to meet her in the ring next week in Madison Square Garden. And Io accepted. So here we are with another match that you look at and go, I thought that was going to be the WrestleMania match. But they're doing it on TV. Okay. So they're doing Io and Raquel on TV next week. Are we not getting Io and Raquel at WrestleMania? Are they going to do the same thing with Io and Raquel they've been doing with all these other matches and do a non-finish that leads to another singles match of Mania? I don't know. Io's another one where if she's not wrestling Raquel, what the fuck is Io Sky doing? Like, my brain cannot comprehend that Gunther and Io Sky, the 2 best wrestlers in the company, are in a position right now where they may not have matches at WrestleMania. Like I can't even begin to understand how that happens. So I'm fairly confident Io will be in a match on that show. But if it's not against Raquel, I have no fucking idea what she's doing on that show. None. Maybe she could. Maybe she and Danhausen can be a team in the multi-team women's tag team title match. I don't know. Danhausen in a wig partnered up with Io Sky. I don't know. We have Penta against Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Io versus Asuka at WrestleMania. Well, that's the match I wanted, but last week they were talking about going after the women's tag team titles. So which is it? Are they not going to be a part of the multi-team match? I mean, that'd be fine if they weren't. Wasn't that basically what they insinuated on the show last week? I basically gave up on the fucking idea. I would love it if it ends up being Io against Asuka. I think it should. You can see where my brain is. I basically gave up on it last week. Well, then I hope that's the match. Now you got my hopes up again. Now you got my hopes up again. So as Dominic and Liv Morgan were entering for Dom's match with Penta, Stephanie Vaquer attacked Liv from behind, and officials came out to try to pull Stephanie away. Liv took advantage, took advantage of that. She attacked Stephanie, tossed her into the LED wall. So the fight spilled into the gorilla position, and the officials were trying to separate the two of them. These two ladies were beating the hell out of each other here. So after the break, we saw JD McDonough had joined at ringside in Dom's corner for this championship match. Later on, Dom kicked out of a Penta driver. He sent Penta into the ropes. He was going to go for a 619. As he came off the ropes, he ended up eating a super kick instead. JD gets up on the apron. Penta is distracted. That leads ultimately to the 619. So Dom is going up top, and we hear Finn Balor's music, and it says Balor Club, even though he has no club anymore. The Balor Club is on the video wall. And out walks Finn Balor. It's the first time we've seen him since he was excommunicated from the Judgment Day. And he does like the slow, walk out. And JD McDonough runs up to him in the aisleway, and Finn just kicks his ass. So now Finn turns his attention back to Dom. Dom is still on the top rope, by the way. So now Dom is going for the frog splash. Like a minute has passed, and Penta has been laying there the entire time. So naturally, Dom comes off the top, Penta gets the knees up, and then he cradles him into a cover for the 3 count, and Penta retains the championship. So when the match was over, Penta just disappeared. Yeah, he gets up, he celebrates with his belt, goodbye. Finn Balor comes down to the ring, and Dom tries to scurry out. And Balor drags him back to the center of the ring, and he starts pouncing on him. And again, the crowd is very lukewarm. Like when Balor came out and he came down to the ring, I mean, they were cheering, but nothing like that you would hope for, that he would get this big reaction because people really wanted to see him kick this guy's ass. I just thought it was very underwhelming. But anyway, he's going after Dom. McDonough pulls Dom out of the ring before Finn can hit the coup de grace. So Finn dives out over the top rope onto both of them. He drags Dom back into the ring. Again, McDonough to the rescue. So Finn hits the final cut on McDonough. Dom runs off into the crowd. And Finn hits the shotgun drop kick. He hits the coup de grace on JD while Dom looks on from the audience. I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the TV match sometime in the next few weeks between Balor and McDonough. I think that's going to be a fun match. Teacher and student. Mentor and mentee. And then it just becomes a question of, do they work Balor and Dom into the multi-man match that I'm sure we're going to get for the IC title of WrestleMania, or do we let them have their own singles match? Is there room on the card to do no titles or anything, just a straight singles match between Finn Balor and Dominik Mysterio? I would hope so, because this is something that has been building for 2 years. It's a story that is rich with history. It should not have taken this long to get to this point. But now that we're here, Yeah, I would say that's a worthy undercard match of WrestleMania. And maybe we get Demon Finn, who comes out. Because there was talk about maybe him bringing the Demon back a few months ago. So that's where we seem to be headed. Now, CM Punk was in the gorilla position backstage, and he spotted Jimmy Uso leaning up against the wall. So he goes over to Jimmy, and Jimmy tells him, "Be careful, my brother is on the warpath." Punk thanks him for the warning, and out to the ring goes the World Heavyweight Champion here for the closing segment on this show. He tells the fans that Jimmy warned me before I came out here that his brother, Roman's cousin, Jey Uso, is on the warpath tonight. Said it goes to show you that Roman can't do anything without his cousins, and his cousins can't do anything without Roman Reigns. He said nobody in that family can do anything by themselves. Nobody in that family can be heavyweight champion of the world. He has them so shook, Roman said all the Samoans can come after him if they choose. And you know how many Samoans that they have in that family. And he said, you know how many Samoans have looked at me cross-eyed? A big fat 0. This is the shit talk business. We do say awful things about each other to sell the big fight. That's my job. But these are just words. And being in a blue-collar city like Boston, I'm tired of talking. These are just empty words, but Roman did say one thing last week that pissed him off. He said Roman called him old. It's not what he said, though. It's not a matter of like him calling him old, per se. It's who said it. His young boy does not get to disrespect him and call him old. If he told us that he isn't, he would be a liar, right? CM Punk can't stand in the ring and say he's not old. By wrestling standards anyway, he's fucking old. So he's not going to lie to us. Is he old? Yes, I am old. Is he ashamed of it? Hell no. He's proud of it. If he was ashamed of how old he was, he would be covering up these whiskers with Just for Men, just like Roman does. And the crowd said, ooh. He's middle-aged and crazy like Terry Funk was. He's old like Nolan Ryan was, and he was still out there throwing no-hitters. He mentioned Gordie Howe played hockey into his 50s. The older Punk gets, the more pressure he feels, and the more pressure he feels, the better he is. Age is just a number. He's old, but he's not insecure. He doesn't come out here and ask the fans to acknowledge me. Acknowledge me. Last week, this old man dropped him with one punch. And then he said, at WrestleMania, 20 minutes deep, when all that oil and jizz Roman covers himself in dries up, when all of that dries up, just like his chances of becoming world heavyweight champion will dry up, he's going to jack him with a G. Okay, so let's stop here for a second. In the last 10 seconds, I have told you that CM Punk talked about oil and jizz, and now he's talking about jacking up Roman Reigns. What kind of match are we getting at WrestleMania? I wanted to see this match, but now I'm not so sure. I'm a little concerned, to be honest with you. This is what he said. I'm just telling you what the man said. So when all of that dries up, he says he's going to jack him with a GTS, and Roman goes to sleep. And he wakes up Monday morning and realizes that Punk is the best in the world. He just got beat by not just an old man, but by the old man. What do we do? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Because someone who didn't underestimate him and still couldn't get the job done? Gunther. Oh my God, they remember his name. That's the first mention of this man in 3 fucking weeks on this show. And it was in the context of someone who couldn't beat him. So just reminding you that for all the dominant wins that Gunther has had recently, CM Punk did beat him at SummerSlam. So can't forget that. He goes, someone else who underestimated me and couldn't get the job done? Jey Uso. Jey Uso's music hit at that point, and out he came. And Punk asked, "What are you going to do? Yeet me to death?" Jey got in the ring, and he's pacing back and forth. He told Punk that your ass is old, and he's been hit in the head too many times because you're still out here running your mouth. Said, "We could do it right now, Oos. I'll run it back on your old ass right here." And Punk said that Jey never got his rematch that he rightfully deserved. Rematch he rightfully deserved? I don't think he needed a rematch. Let's not be encouraging rematches here. But he said you never got the rematch that you were owed. You want your rematch right here in Boston. Let's do it. So Jimmy came out and interrupted, and he asked Jey, like, "What are you doing out here?" He understands how he feels, but every time he gets emotional, he doesn't think. All Jey sees is red. Because of that, they got disqualified tonight, and they got to defend their titles now next week. And Jey said the quiet part out loud here. He said that he doesn't care about no tag team titles. Neither does WWE. Jey says all Punk does is talk shit about the family. Where's Roman at? He ain't here, but I'm here. Say it to me, Punk. Finally, Roman Reigns emerged. And he took his sweet time getting down to the ring. Then he stared at Punk for a while and said nothing. If there was a championship in WWE for the best aura farmer, Roman Reigns would be champion for years and years and years. Nobody would be able to beat this man for the title. It's all he does when he comes out to the ring. So after 5 minutes of this, finally Roman spoke. Said last time he checked, talking to the Usos now, says last time I checked, you already had a tag match. Is that right? And Jimmy said that's right. He goes, and it's done now? That's right. And Roman said, I'm going to say this as respectfully as I can. Get your brother and leave my ring. So Punk told him, no, you should stay. He says, Roman might need you. So Jey lunged at Punk. Punk knocked him down. So Jimmy came over. He's scuffling with Punk. And in the scuffle, Roman gives Punk a Superman punch to the back of the head. So now officials, Adam Pearce is out there too. Officials, they pour out to the ring. Get the Usos out of there. Roman was about to leave too. He was about halfway out of the ring. And Jey looks up and he called the shot. He tells Roman, get him. Go get him. So Roman goes back into the ring and he delivers a spear and he takes down CM Punk. And Jey is still yelling at him, get him, get him. So Roman takes him outside. He sends Punk into the steel post. I can't even say that. I mean, they got that stupid LED casing around it. The steel is underneath. So it makes a good noise when you throw somebody into it, but it's not really the steel post now, is it? But he throws him into the post, not once, but twice. Then he picks him up and he power bombs him. And it was a hard power bomb too. He power bombs him through the announce desk. Well, it had to be because they wanted to make sure the table broke. So he power bombed him through the announce desk. The crowd chanted, one more time. This is what they do. They did this after he broke Matt Cardona's arm. Smack that Randy Orton did on Friday night. And they're chanting one more time here to Roman Reigns. But they only had one table, so he can only do it one time. Michael Cole said, Punk is laughing? And you can see Punk was kind of going back and forth between like a grimace of pain on his face and also like a little bit of a laughing fit. And you could hear Punk there towards the end. The officials are asking him, do you need help? And he's like, I don't need help. And he said, I'm not the one who needs help. And then he continued to go back and forth between pain and laughter. And that is how they went off the air. Outside of the oil and jizz, I quite enjoyed this. Yeah, I just said that. But even the Usos being involved, like I like what they did with them here. Yeah, we talk a lot about, and I think a lot of people feel the same way I do, the Jey Uso stuff. When he was still involved there towards the tail end doing main events, it was awful. It was awful. And Jey feels like he's back where he excels the most. He's back with his brother. He's not in main events. He's not wrestling for singles world championships. Been there, done that. It's just like there's other people right now who deserve to be in that spot and are better being in that spot than Jey Uso. But they have found a way to work him into this story where, you know, he's more serious. He's not just coming out and yeeting. He's not just coming out and, you know, 4 letters, 1 word, like doing all the stuff that he was doing week in and week out. You know, he's coming out, he's all pissed off, and that's why I said at the beginning it reminds me more of the right-hand man, Jey Uso, and not Yeet Man Jey Uso. It is very similar to the Jey Uso we saw going back to the Bloodline days, you know, which is what made him popular in the first place. He's being more assertive. He took on the Roman Reigns role at the end of the show, which is just what LA Knight said. When he said that to him in the back earlier, he goes, "You're starting to remind me more of Roman Reigns." And Jey didn't want to hear it, and Jey walked off. But then Jey came out and proved him right at the end of the show. He was being Roman Reigns. He was bossing around Roman Reigns and telling him, "No, stay, go get him, go get him." So I like the way that and then Jimmy, of course, is just the voice of reason in all this. So I like the way rather that they were able to use the Usos in this segment. I still hope that we are not building to a full-blown official Bloodline reunion because I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. And that, to me, it's just lazy. To go back to that would be incredibly lazy. I don't know what the end goal is here with Roman and the Usos, but I hope that's not what we're looking at here. But you got to try to keep this build interesting in some way. I think bringing family into it is something personal. It gives them gives someone like Roman a reason to get pissed off when somebody speaks about his family. Didn't really do a good job of that last week. I thought they kind of handled that whole thing wrong. This week, this was the Roman Reigns that I was hoping to see last week. You know, the one that lets his hair down, throws CM Punk out of the ring, power bombs him through the fucking table. That's the Roman Reigns I want to see. CM Punk, now he's got to come back and he's got to get his revenge, you know, for what was done to him this week. What does that look like? Are we going to see more Samoan family members, you know, getting involved here? I mean, who else is left? Solo Sikoa? I'm not sure that there are any left that would even make sense. You know, Jacob's doing his own thing with Drew McIntyre. Solo's got the fucking lantern that he won't get rid of. So I think this is pretty much what we're looking at here. But this was a much improved segment than the one that we had last week. Roman, I'm not expecting him to wrestle between now and Mania. Punk I am. So maybe we can get Punk in a match against, I mean, I guess it would make more sense for it to be Jey because they were about to throw down tonight. You know, Punk's the one who said, "Hey, you never got your rematch." So I wonder if that's indicative of the fact that Jey Uso may be getting a World Heavyweight Championship match. And that'll be interesting potentially because Roman is the one getting a shot at WrestleMania. So does Roman get involved and do something to cost his cousin because he doesn't want his cousin winning the World Championship? Not before Mania. You could play that angle if you want. Would not be surprised to get Punk and Jey Uso at some point over these next few weeks. They didn't announce it tonight for Madison Square Garden next week. It doesn't mean they can't announce it during the week. I would think a big match like that they would have wanted to announce on the show tonight, and they didn't. I don't know where they are the week after. Where are they the week after? I don't know. Yeah, maybe somebody can look it up. I don't know what city they're in, but we could get a Punk and Jey match between now and then. I think that's very possible, but I just like that we had physicality tonight, real physicality, you know, involving these, not just the punch, but we had more physicality tonight. You can only do so much talking, you know, before that gets old. Not as old as CM Punk, but it does get old after a while. So I think they're in a good place right now with their main events. Still 3 weeks to build. We're going to supposedly get some sort of Randy Orton apology to Cody Rhodes on SmackDown this Friday. Again, Cody will be on Pat McAfee's show on Wednesday to speak for the first time since the attack. We still don't know who Randy Orton's been on the phone with the last 2 weeks. So they got some stuff cooking. That's good. Still a lot of holes, though, on the WrestleMania card that have to really be filled in. Outside of the main events and Brock Lesnar against Oba Femi, honestly, right now, the rest of this card really does feel just very blasé for a WrestleMania. You know, Rhea and Jade. Outside of Rhea or outside of Charlotte and Jade, it's the biggest match they could do right now, but it's very cold. Stephanie and Liv, I like that little brawl they had tonight, but even Stephanie and Liv feels very cold. You know, the women's tag team titles, I don't give a shit. The men's Intercontinental title looks like if it's defended, it's going to probably be in some big multi-man match. We don't even know if Carmelo Hayes is going to defend the U.S. title. He already beat Ilya Dragunov on Friday. He's going to face him again. We know we got AJ and Becky for the women's IC title. I mean, that should be okay. Women's U.S. title, probably headed towards Julia, Tiffany, and then maybe Chelsea, if Chelsea can get clear. I still feel like that's going to end up being a three-way. Jelly roll in something with The Miz. I mean, this is fucking WrestleMania. Like, it doesn't feel like WrestleMania outside of those top three matches. Now, the main events are the most important thing, but you have 2 nights of WrestleMania with anywhere from 14 to 16 matches. I would hope you can get beyond just 3 matches that actually feel like WrestleMania. We're not there yet. There are still people who are unaccounted for on the card. So that's kind of where we are here. That's the state of things here as we sit here 3 weeks out from WrestleMania 42. Now, next Monday at Madison Square Garden, Brock Lesnar will be on the show. We have the Usos against the Vision for the tag belts, New York City Street Fight. Bayley and Lyra are going to take on Nia and Lash for the women's tag team titles. And Io Sky goes one-on-one with Raquel Rodriguez, which actually, now that I think about that, probably is a pretty good sign that we will end up getting Io and Asuka at WrestleMania, and that would make me happy. As soon as I saw her on screen with Kairi tonight, I was like, oh. But my mind was still thinking towards, you know, Io and Raquel for Mania, but it'll be good if they kind of get that out of the way next week. Here's a Twitter poll. What did you think of Raw from Boston? 74% thumbs up and about 26% thumbs down for tonight's show. Tom Brady against Logan Paul. Oh, gee. Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah, they're trying to get Tom Brady on the show, not necessarily for him. Tom Brady is not wrestling. Tom Brady is not wrestling. Hey, Aaron, thank you for the $4.99. Thank you very much. Asuka will probably interfere, tell Io to stay out of her business with Kairi, go hug Rhea some more. I like it. Io versus Asuka for custody of Kairi. Kairi on a pole. Maybe we get Kairi on a pole. Bro. Yeah, they're very desperate for Tom Brady. Again, WWE, they're a bunch of star fuckers, and they want to fill the show up with as many celebrities as possible. So it'll make them look cool. It'll make the product look hot. This is how they are. Joseph Stewart is with us. I hope you're having a good Monday, Joseph. Thank you, brother. Said, oh, Raw is in Houston in 2 weeks. All right, Houston is a good wrestling city. Rest in peace, Nicholas Brendan, who played Xander in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I never watched the show. Also, Valerie Perrine played Ms. Tessmacher in the Superman movies. Have you seen the movie Lenny with Dustin Hoffman? I have not. Today is the anniversary of the worst day in wrestling history. WWE buys WCW. Yeah, I'll touch on that on the Uncrowned Wrestling show tomorrow a little bit. And then probably on the Sound Off next weekend a little bit more. But yeah, this is a 25-year anniversary. 25 years. He says, I miss WCW so much. WCW should still be in business right now. Were you a fan of Frank Sinatra? And do you have a favorite Sinatra song? Yeah, I have nothing against them. New York, New York. To all my Boston fans out there. New York, New York. So there was a Scooby-Doo reunion with Sarah Michelle Gellar and Linda Cardellini this past weekend. Is Jurassic Park one of your favorite movies? It is. It is. I like Jurassic Park. Did you see the trailer to the new live-action Moana movie? I didn't. I saw a picture of The Rock playing Maui. He looks like he fattened up for the role, unless that was all CGI. But Joseph, thank you. Also wants to know if I'm excited to see The Rock return as Maui. I didn't see the Moana cartoon. I have no interest in seeing the live-action movie, but if you see it, I hope you enjoy it. I will not be seeing it. Do you think Dominic, Mysterio, Braun Breaker, Oba Femi, and Jacob Fatu are the young pillars of WWE? They're certainly the building blocks, I think, of the next generation of WWE. They're all there. Them and a few others are all on there. Oh, it's a muscle suit. Okay. That looked like he just ate a lot of carbs and got fat for the role. But I guess that makes sense. Phil, WWE 2K26 graphics are ass. Is that true? Did the graphics actually get worse in 2K26? Why would they get worse? The Sheltered Kid, Pops, surprised me today with a Solomonster shirt. I know I'm 20, but this shirt means to me what your MSG WrestleMania shirt meant to you. Oh, thank you. Wow, that's very cool. I have a shirt from the original WrestleMania, the very first WrestleMania. I was not there, but my father and his father were, and they got me a WrestleMania shirt, and I still have it. Well, your pops has good taste. Tell him I said thank you for that. GMB, I know it's from different people, but it humors me that many praise Raquel's last 5 or 6 months, but folks are like, nah, fuck that, if she's EO's WrestleMania match. It's beneath EO. Just because Raquel has improved does not mean that EO Sky should be wrestling Raquel Rodriguez in a nothing match at WrestleMania. That was put together in like 3 weeks. That's the difference. Dried Chicken says, hearing the reactions for Orton lately, they should have done a fatal 4-way match for the WWE Championship with Cody, Orton, Drew, and Jacob. I was all for it. I would not have had an issue with that. Also, I missed The Rock. I wish the final boss comes back. I'm sure he will at some point, but he's, you know. I don't dwell on when The Rock may or may not come back because we've been burned before by this, so I don't factor him into my WrestleMania thoughts whatsoever. If he shows up, he shows up. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I don't give a shit. Don't care. Cool music though. I like his theme music. Paul Van Summer and Jay costing Roman the match at Mania. Please God, no more Roman versus Jay. Could be. You know what? The way that Jay's been popping off lately like a loose cannon. He feels very strongly about defending family honor and all that. I could see him factoring into the finish of that match. No idea what Gunther, EO, Knight are doing for Mania at less than 4 weeks out, assuming Breaker is coming back for Rollins or add him to that list. They're hoping that Breaker will be back. Doesn't mean he will, but that's the working idea. Nick Grasso, based on what we got tonight, do we think we get Io versus Asuka at WrestleMania? Also, what are your thoughts on a double turn with Tiffany and Julia and having Kiana be Tiffany's representative? I think Tiffany going back heel makes sense in a lot of ways. I don't think she's a great babyface, but I don't think that people would give a shit about a double turn because they don't care enough yet about Julia. they're not there yet with her. You want to do a double turn, it has to be done with somebody that the fans have demonstrated a desire to see turn. And I don't think people would care. Just my 2 cents. Tiffany with Kiana. I mean, their personalities are kind of similar in some ways. I don't hate it. You know what? I actually think that pairing probably works better than Kiana and Julia does. Lakers Pats, how did you feel when news broke that WCW was bought? Confused about like what it all meant and how it would work, and kind of sad, you know, because I lived through that whole Monday Night War period as a fan. I was watching every week, mostly WWE, but you know, when before WCW turned to total shit, I'd be flipping back and forth, and Mondays were exciting in a way that they haven't been since. So it was more sadness that it even got to that point than anything else. And then as the news began to trickle out, like they were just picking the bones, you know, the trademarks and the pay-per-view event names and select contracts, and a lot of the big names weren't coming over. You know, kind of reality set in, like, okay, this thing is done. Like, this thing is dead. They're not going to run it as like a separate entity. It's over. But you have to remember, WCW died a slow, painful death. It was bad for a while. It wasn't like they were at the peak and then they just suddenly died. So it was kind of a slow death that you could see coming. Didn't make it any less sad. And the wrestling business has been worse off for it ever since. Or at least until AEW came along, and then you had a legitimate, you know, competitor where you had this other person who had all of this money at his disposal. Like Vince McMahon used to complain about billionaire Ted's, you know, blank check. And so for the first time, you had somebody, you know, come along and open up this promotion that had real cable television, you know, on TNT and TBS, and wasn't afraid to spend money. We hadn't seen that since the days of WCW. We hadn't had wrestling on the Turner Network since the dying days of WCW. So you had this huge gap from like 2001 to 2019 where, you know, what do we have? TNA? They screwed that pretty good. Ring of Honor was great, but Ring of Honor was not on that level. You know, they were only going to grow so much. Dry Chicken says Stephanie Vicaire should have ripped some hair off of Liv Morgan. Also, it won't surprise me if WrestleMania goes back to one night very soon. No, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Can't say it'll never happen, but they're still going to end up moving at least 45,000 tickets for each night, I think. So if they can sell 90,000 tickets to a show that in one night they might only sell 65,000 to, they're going to take the 90,000. You know, financially, it makes more sense to keep things the way it is. And I don't want to go back to those days of fucking 10 or 11 match, 12 match WrestleMania cards in one night. Joseph says Scream has become a joke. And 25 years without WCW. Damn. Hard to believe, huh? Quarter of a century has gone by. That's crazy. Arabian Night. Do you see LA Knight's elbow? Yes. In fact, I put a picture of it up earlier in the stream. Also, do you think they're saving Gunther for a segment at WrestleMania with Tom Brady? Oh my God. Is that what they're going to do? Are they going to have... But then they're taking their big heel and getting him cheered. If the idea is that he's going to put a sleeper hold on Tom Brady. Is that the big moment that they're going for? Gunther puts Tom Brady to sleep, or he gives Tom Brady a chop. Or even worse, they give Tom Brady a moment and he does something to Gunther and Gunther is forced into retreat. That would be even worse. He's going to retire Tom Brady. Dry Chicken says WWE wasn't cooking tonight. The creative team keeps making the same old peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every Monday night. Alexander. I request Anna Yvette's Redline song next show. You haven't played that in ages. Nice. Save it for special occasions. Does Gunther even know or care about Tom Brady? I'm sure he knows who he is, but no, I don't think Gunther gives two shits about Tom Brady. Chris, what the hell are they doing with Gunther? We're this close to Mania and nothing. Ray's been hurt since January, so Triple H had plenty of time to do something. Evidently not. I'm just saying, Ilya Dragunov is right there. He's got nothing to do. Aaron says, at this point, I feel like instead of adding Gunther into a random undercard match, save him for the Raw after Mania and have him write Roman off. Well, you're assuming Roman is not winning the World Heavyweight Championship, which he should not. But you're assuming that's not going to happen. Unless he's the one to take the World Heavyweight Championship off of Roman. But honestly, I don't even know that Gunther needs a title right now, to be honest with you. Randy Bobandy again, thank you, brother, for that red bomb, which I read earlier on. 99.99. You're awesome, Randy. Thank you, brother. Barry McCockiner. I think it's Jey Uso against LA Knight at WrestleMania. Pierce will tell Seth that he can have a partner of his choosing to face the Vision. He will choose Adam Pierce himself. Why? Why would he choose the general manager of the show who hasn't wrestled in years? Why would he do that? Dried Chicken. Danhausen will curse Brock Lesnar before WrestleMania. What is a WrestleMania that you thought in the past was going to be really bad going into it, but ended up being really good or better than expected? Maybe WrestleMania 39. WrestleMania 39 was actually an excellent WrestleMania. I don't remember if I was terribly excited going into it, though. So that might be one. Man, one that I thought was going to suck and ended up being really good. I don't know. A lot of the ones that I thought were going to suck, sucked. And a lot of the ones I thought were going to be good ended up being good. I'll say 39. I feel like that build to 39, I don't remember being a huge fan of it, but that ended up being a sleeper show. But Brandon, thank you. Ian Noel, Chicago Screamer here. Gotta say, AJ Lee versus Becky needs to end at WrestleMania. With it reaching a boiling point, I feel like there needs to be a stip. What stip would you choose for them to end their feud? I just talked about this earlier on. I would add a submission match or an I Quit match. You have two women with submission finishers. It only makes sense. And I agree, it should end at WrestleMania. Dried Chicken says, I would break out a big checkbook for Lesnar to put Oba Femi over. Shouldn't have to break out any checkbook. It's called doing your job. You know, for the 2 years that he wasn't on television, he was paid the entire time. He gets paid very well. He shouldn't have to be paid more money on top of what he already makes just to put somebody over in the ring. Dev to Dust, who's the tougher group? NWO or Bad Boy Pistons? NWO. NWO. The Joker's voice. This hello Solomonster. For Becky versus AJ, do you possibly see a third person added to the match? Maybe Roxanne Perez. AJ and Becky putting over the future and newer generation. I do not. Roxanne has not even been mentioned. Even when like Liv Morgan would be cutting a promo and talking about the different members of the Judgment Day, Roxanne has not even been mentioned. So I'm not even sure she'll be back in time for the show. But whether it's Roxanne or anybody else, the story has nothing to do with anybody except AJ and Becky. AJ and Becky is the story. Nobody else should be added to the match. Base Beer says, I'll always be disappointed with Undertaker being the last surprise at WrestleMania 40. It didn't make sense. Was expecting Austin. Roman winning at WrestleMania 39 was better. Well, blame Austin. He's the one who said no. Said that he was busy. He had something with his wife. He couldn't get out of it. I don't know if that's just some bullshit excuse. Should he have been there? I mean, that spot was tailor-made for The Rock to eat a stunner. I feel you. Barry MK, why do you think WWE adds a full old episode of NXT to YouTube every day, but they don't care to bring back all the old Raw shows? Also, why is NXT TakeOver airing live on YouTube and not Netflix? They don't have a deal with Netflix for NXT. Why would it air on Netflix? The Raw stuff, you know, I've given up trying to figure out why they even bothered having a Raw Vault on YouTube or on Netflix, rather, if they don't update it. I don't know. But the fact that there is a Raw Vault on Netflix could be why they don't upload full episodes of Monday Night Raw. I don't know why they do what they do. I assume some of it has to do with rights. Apparently SmackDown is back on Peacock. Don't wait on WWE to announce anything. They just do shit. Stuff expires. Stuff comes back. They don't say a word. They don't say a word. Because they don't give a shit. Not a big enough audience for them to give a shit. Paul Carpenter says, if you listen to Booker T's entrance music, you can hear the Putty Patrol from Power Rangers in the song. Just something to look out for. Alex with the 10 says, I heard there's going to be an extremely big surprise name. Returning to Raw next Monday at the Garden. And no, it's not Jericho or The Rock. It's going to be the return of Jalen Brunson. Well, he would be a big name here in New York. Alex Ochoa, what if Gunther interrupts AJ's speech during the Hall of Fame and challenges him to another match at WrestleMania? Alex, that's a wishful thought on your part, but you got to give it up. You got to let it go. AJ has a new job. He has a new role behind the scenes in WWE. That, and he's playing his video games, and he seems very content. Aaron says, Lyra would be a good addition to the SmackDown women's division. She would be. You know who else would be? Sol Ruka. Prince Vegeta says, in your opinion, which one of these failed pushed Vince stars had the higher ceiling? Baron Corbin or Austin Theory? Both won the U.S. title and Money in the Bank on failed cash-ins and beat legends at WrestleMania, Angle and Cena. The higher ceiling. Austin Theory had the higher ceiling. Corbin, though, you know what killed Corbin? That whole King Corbin thing. And just how fucking long it went on for. And the antler. Like, it was just ridiculous. And then, of course, we had Happy Corbin. Sad Corbin was entertaining, but he just bounced around so many different gimmicks. Like the Ed Leslie of this generation. When really, I think back, and the best version of Baron Corbin was the Lone Wolf, and that was his original gimmick from NXT. All you had to do is just try to, migrate that to the main roster. So he should have done more than what he did, but I think Theory was the one who seemed to be kind of on his way, and then he hit a wall. He hit a wall or a ceiling. Constable Corbin. Yeah, I mean, again, how many gimmicks did he have? Lone Wolf, Constable, King, Happy, Sad. Then whatever it was when he was with the Wolf Dogs in NXT, he had like 6 different characters. Yeah, they do upload some of those old episodes of NXT, and you go back and watch, you know, Baron Corbin when he was the Lone Wolf and that old music. And I don't know, man. I don't know why we never got to see that on the main roster. Aaron says Danhausen would fit in the MFTs with the face paint. Can we not add new members to the MFTs? I'm trying to like will the destruction of this group into existence, so they can kind of just go off and do their own things. And you want to continue to add members? Alexander, Io versus Asuka for custody of Kairi. Ladder match. Eat, sleep, yeet, repeat. Says, what's up, Solo? I love watching the show. It makes my day. Well, I'm happy to hear that. Thank you, brother. William. Corey Hayes on X tonight hinted it's Io and Asuka at WrestleMania. Good. That's what it should be. Joe Law. The 1999. Any word on the Street Profits? I know Montez has to be sick seeing Javon Evans and Trick both being featured in prominent spots. Also wondering if WWE had plans of throwing Gunther into Oba and Brock. I hope not. And no, I doubt that very seriously. I want him to have a match on the show, but he would just feel shoehorned in there. There's no need for him to be in there. And no, there's been no word on the Street Profits. I know Angelo Dawkins and his wife are now expecting baby number 3. So he's been busy in his time off. No word on the Street Profits. There was something maybe a week or so ago about how they were going to possibly be worked back into things soon. But it's one of those things where I'll believe it when I see it. They just sort of vanished. Base Bearish Jey Uso should have never won the Rumble. No yeet. Nick Grasso with the 1999. I saw an IG video from Rebel that broke my heart. She was struggling to speak. She said her legs are numb. She's having a hard time lifting her arms. She can't brush her teeth and she can't swallow her food. It's so sad. Yeah, I mean, she has... is it lymphoma? I forgot what type of... cancer it is that she's suffering from. Let me see if I could just look it up. It's lymphoma. Primary pulmonary lymphoma. And then there's another like neurological disorder. It's really affected her speech. She's really had a tough go of it. I feel bad for her. Boots, what's going on, Boots? Thank you for the 10 spot. Cornell Bryant, Solo trying hard not to mention his name. His name? Whose name would that be? Jeremy Rose, what if Randy is on the phone with himself? Well, that would be fucking stupid. That would be very dumb. Aaron says, in the last year, we've had like 5 mystery men, 2 mystery attackers, a mystery crate, 2 mystery phone calls, Heyman and Orton, and mystery ninjas. Yeah, it's a mystery these people make any money with these wonderful ideas they come up with. It's a mystery to me. They sure do love their mysteries. They should write a mystery novel. Base Beer says, worst burial, Kofi versus Brock or Cena versus Rey? Kofi versus Brock. San Juan Wolf, the 1999. What if Gunther moves to SmackDown after WrestleMania to rekindle his rivalry with Ilya? Their matches in WXW and NXT were masterpieces. I would love to see what they would do on the main roster. I mean, realistically, if they had like television matches, not to say that they wouldn't be good, but you'd have like 3 commercial breaks. You'd see like, you know, you'd see 55% of the match. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. You'd have to educate people about their history together, but you can do that. David Schneider. Cody on Pat Wednesday with Duke versus St. John's on Friday. Yeah, I mentioned Cody on Pat. 1 o'clock on Wednesday. Base Beerers, we need backstage WrestleMania segments, not just matches. Wow. We need backstage WrestleMania segments, not just matches. Paul Carpenter, Guerrero versus JBL. Classic match, horrible outcome. They had more than one match, so are you referring to the Judgment Day match or the Bull Rope match? Like the Judgment Day match more. Jeremy Rose, when Punk was getting beaten down tonight, I was hoping Danhausen would save him. How disappointing that didn't happen. Come on, Triple H. MacTub, is Cody an all-time great to you now? I mean, he's not in my like top list or anything. To the little kids, he will be. I mean, look, he definitely is up there now. You know, when you take his whole career into account, being part of the formation of AEW, and he played a very important role in that. You know, not just on the air and in the ring, but behind the scenes. And then coming home, you know, and becoming the top babyface and winning the world championship. He'll go down as one of the all-time greats. It's not my, my all-time great or anything like that, but he's definitely up there. Base Beerus, we took the network for granted. $9.99. You don't know what you got until it's gone. Very true. Hi, Solo. Awesome stream tonight. There has long been a rumor that Tony Khan has wrestling journalists on the payroll. Is there any truth to this? There's been no evidence of it. I think there's definitely people who are more, you know, I would say more kind of in tune with that product and favorable towards that product. But like, it's funny, I get comments like that sometimes, you know, on both sides over the years, like, oh, carrying the water for Triple H, like at the beginning when he was first like taking over creative. You're on the payroll here. You're on the payroll. Like, hey, I don't know where all these checks are being sent, but they're certainly not being sent to my address. So like stuff like that gets said all the time. There's no evidence of this. People say a lot of stupid shit. Base Beer is buy or sell Blue Blazer or Stardust. Blue Blazer or Stardust. I didn't really like either one. I liked Owen Hart as himself. I was never like a big fan of the Blue Blazer character, and I will never be a big fan of the Blue Blazer character because I will forever associate it with Owen's death. And Stardust, I didn't care for. Not a fan of either one. And William Valencia says, Solo, what's been Triple H's biggest fumble thus far? The New Day heel turn, Cena retirement tour, Gunther the career killer, or something else? The Cena retirement tour. Yeah, I mean, this is someone that you market as the greatest of all time. And so you would think the greatest of all time would be befitting of the greatest retirement tour. Especially given that you had 6 months to plan it all out. And we got some cool moments, but to look back at it from start to finish and see what was done, I think underwhelming is being kind. And I think that should have been such a slam dunk. And the fact that it wasn't, I think is a real indictment on him and the planning that went into it. And him taking credit for the heel turn, which ended up being a complete fumble. Hey, he wants to take credit for it. Go ahead. We know who to blame. We know whose idea it was. Owen's death is such a stain on that company. Yeah, it will forever be. It never should have happened. The goal tonight, though, was 450 or 475? 475. Yeah, we've already blasted through that. We're actually closing in on 600. Oh, but we hit the, you know what? I didn't even see we hit the bonus goal. Wow. We hit both goals. Okay, that's good. You know why? Because that means that we get 2 rounds of Be the Booker instead of 1. I like that. I like that a lot.
Time to be the Booker.
Did not even notice that. I was so into what you guys were saying. I was looking at the super chats. I didn't even look at that. All right. Well, it's kind of appropriate. We have 2 nights of WrestleMania coming up, so we have 2 nights of Be the Booker here. 2 nights in 1. Choose 2 single stars and make a makeshift team. I sound like I'm in a WWE creative meeting. We have Damian Priest and R-Truth as the tag team champions right now on SmackDown, which I will accept because it is not the MFTs. All right, let's pick 2 stars. 2 single stars. We got to make a tag team. Oh, we have the reigning AEW World Heavyweight Champion, MJF. He's going to be in a tag team. Wouldn't it be something if we landed on Adam Cole? Liv Morgan gives you her room key. Now pick a Okay, well, I'm confused now. Hold on a second. Hold on. This is getting very complicated now. I just wanted to book a tag team match, and somehow I ended up in Liv Morgan's hotel room. How did we get here? How did we get here? I feel like we have veered off course. So we are supposed to be picking a makeshift tag team. Okay. So before we can do that, we have to now pick a stipulation for the tag team match. All right. I need you guys to keep score here. Oh my God. Okay. It's eye for an eye. So we have the first ever eye for an eye tag team match. Because we are still doing a tag team match. But now we have to pick a partner for MJF. Mr. Brody Lee, the former TNT champion. MJF and Brody Lee, I'll tell you what, as tag teams go, it's a pretty good team. That is a pretty good team there. They will be facing Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli, the Kings of Wrestling. Wow, that's a great tag team match. Except that it's eye for an eye. So somebody is going to lose an eye. Who's losing an eye in this match? You know, it's kind of weird. I'm looking at this. Claudio looks exactly the same. Chris Hero looks very young in this image, but Claudio just looks the same to me. Hell of a match that is. All right, women's time. We have Kana, the murder clown. He's going to be another stipulation. It's going to be a triple threat match. MJF could pull off the heel eye patch gimmick. Okay. MJF loses an eye. I don't know that that's going to be good for his Hollywood aspirations, though. All right, well, we got Kana, but we got to pick two more people. I think we should land on Kairi Sane and Io Sky. That's what I think. Ruby Riott. Boy, she's been out for a long time, hasn't she? We have Kana, we have Ruby, and we have Athena. Man, Athena and Kana in the same match. We're putting together some bangers here tonight. I like it. I like it. We're still on night one. All right, here we go. Our main event, RVD. Here we go. Rob Van Dam is in the main event. Don't tell Triple H. He'll boot him out so fast. It will be RVD against Mr. Iguana in the main event of Be the Booker Mania. That is a lot of smoke. I mean, we know that RVD likes a good smoke. And then if you don't know the origins of the Mr. Iguana name, you could look it up. I think those two would actually get along very well. Actually, they would probably make a really good tag team. But that is not a main event that I care to see. That ruined what would have been a perfectly good, like a clean sweep of a perfectly good card here for night one. The good thing is we have another round because you hit the bonus goal. Yes. I feel like we just picked a whole bunch of stipulations. Now we got to pick more. Last man standing. Well, then I guess we're doing the men's match first, aren't we? Last man standing. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Imagine having to put all that shit in your mouth just to blow it so you get the flames. Last man standing. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat against the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Wow. Wow. That'd be a great match. All right, there you go. How about that? We're starting out with Cody and Steamboat in a last man standing match. Full Metal Mayhem. Oh man, these women, it's going to be a bad night. People are going to get hurt. People are going to get hurt. I can see it now. We have to pick 5 women. 5 women for Full Metal Mayhem. We have Sasha Banks. Okay, that's a great start. We have Io Sky. This is getting real good now. I like where this is going. Sasha, Io. Oh my God. Okay, well, Full Metal Mayhem is out. We are going to now have a triple threat match. I'll tell you what, we're already 2/3 in, and we only need one more name. This is already a hell of a triple threat match. Sasha, Io, and Nikita Lyons. Well, look, we got Sasha and Io in the same match, right? That's great. Double power bomb puts Nikita through the announce desk for a good chunk of the match. Where is she anyway? Is she in Evolve? I haven't seen her on television in a very long time. I feel like she's probably in Evolve. Sasha and Io make the match epic. Oh, they would. It would be an epic match. LFG. Can't be an LFG. Oh, anyway. Just distracted there. All right, we have one more match. We have a tag team match to book. Oh, she got demoted to LFG? Oh, wow. That's bad. That is bad. But hey, hopefully she is improving. All right, we have a table match. We're going to have a tag team table match. We're going to keep it very simple here. Tag team table match. With the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. Okay. Very good. Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty against the Toxic Turtles. In a tables match. The Toxic Turtles. Yes, this was a real team. Believe it or not. And so ends round number 2. We were close too, Matt. The Rockers in a tables match. Of all the teams that we could have landed on, the Hart Foundation, Demolition, the Hardy Boy. There we go. The Hardy Boys. There's like solo inception here. Of all the teams you could have landed on, we end up on the Turtles. Those damn Turtles. All right, get them on in. If you got any final super chats here, we got a whole bunch of them that we got to get to here. MacTub says Rock in 01 and 02 equals best back-to-back WrestleMania matches by a wrestler. Oh, I don't know. I'd have to go back up in the memory bank of 40 years of WrestleMania, but that was a pretty incredible back-to-back streak he had there from Austin in 01 to the Hogan match in 02, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a 5-star match. You won't find many back-to-backs better than that. Shawn Michaels would have to be in that conversation, though, you know, for 09 and 2010, for sure. Even Cody, 39 and 40. Jeremy Rose, Gunther Omos, WrestleMania. No. Linkmaster X, who would you like to see host WrestleMania? I pick Skip Bayless. I pick Danhausen. No more outside people. They have enough of those. Cameron Spencer, hypothetically speaking, if Oba wasn't facing Brock at Mania, would you rather see him face Omos or Lars Sullivan in a meaty big man match? Omos. MacTub says, Final Boss Rock doesn't get enough credit, in my opinion. I mean, he got credit for the one WrestleMania where he was a key character in it. What else do you want to give him credit for? He didn't do anything else. Helped save that one Mania, and that was it. Goodbye. Devin says, did CM Punk ultimately fail in his decade-long quest to stick it to WWE, that he could be a big star without them after he quit in 2014? I mean, was that his quest? I don't know that that was his quest. He knew he could be a big star for them. And then he's the one who opted to sit out for 7 years, so that was his choice. It's not like he went somewhere else in the immediate aftermath of leaving and then failed. Even for the brief period of time that he was in AEW, I mean, he was, up until he, flamed out there with everything that happened, he was a pretty big success for them. Joe Law, do you think the Usos turn on Roman at Mania? It seems like Priest is also the male Charlotte Flair, where you have to pair him with a fan favorite to heat him up. Right now, that's exactly what they're doing with him. As far as do the Usos turn on Roman at Mania? I don't know. Right now, I'd say no. We have to let the story play out and get a little bit closer. I don't feel that right now. And the Misfit Wrestling Podcast, Io Sky uploaded a video on her Instagram stating that after her Raquel match, she will focus on the Kairi Asuka situation, meaning Io versus Asuka is going to be the match for Mania. Well, good. I'm glad we got that settled. That's the best thing you could do with Io. If she's not going to be wrestling for a championship, give us that Io and Asuka match. And give us a payoff to this whole Asuka Kairi thing. What is an underrated WrestleMania main event? Underrated WrestleMania main event. Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Underrated. You know what? There aren't very many that are underrated. They're rated pretty accurately. Hogan Andre at WrestleMania 3 is such a hard one because, like, as a match, it sucked. But I mean, in terms of, like, if you watch it for the drama of like the near falls and the big moves, what the WrestleMania main event has ultimately become over the years, it sucked. And it sucks seeing Andre clearly in pain and barely able to move. But that's a match that I still feel like maybe doesn't get enough credit because that match is just built on pure drama. It's David and Goliath. I mean, as big as Hogan was, I mean, it was David and Goliath. And it all built to the body slam. And when he hit that slam, people ask me, like, if there's one moment in time that if you could be at a show, what show would you be at? And it would be that show for that moment. To be in the crowd when he picked him up over his head and he slammed, and everybody stands up and he picks up the giant and he slams him. It all built to that moment. So I think people shit on it without necessarily giving it the respect it deserves for what it was meant to be, if that makes sense. But like the other Mania main events, like I said, they're pretty well, I think, rated in terms of the first 10. And then you get into like 11 to 20. I've commented that I think the Bret Shawn Iron Man match is overrated. It's not a bad match, but it's overrated. Undertaker and Sid, that sucked. Austin and Shawn Michaels, I didn't like it. I know Austin didn't like it. I didn't like it. You know what? I'll give you one. Austin Rock, WrestleMania 15. Everybody talks about WrestleMania 17. Everybody talks about WrestleMania 19 because it was Austin's last match and Rock finally beat him. I like 15. I do. I like the match of 15, and I actually feel like that one's underrated. Miz versus Cena. Okay, Paul, I'm going to have to escort you out of the building. I'm going to escort you out of the building. I'm going to revoke your pass. I will not tolerate that. Miz versus Cena. The worst WrestleMania main event of all time. Well, I guess now we have competition, right? It's either that or Cena Cody. But I'll go with Cena Miz. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me on a fun Monday night. I'm going to be having a very busy Tuesday because in the morning I'm going to be recording episode number 7 of the Uncrowned Wrestling Podcast, which, as I mentioned the other day, now has its own dedicated podcast feed. So you can still get the show through the Ariel Helwani Show main feed, but there is now a feed dedicated to nothing but this show. So you can find it and you can subscribe there if you wish. But the latest episode will be up later in the day tomorrow. Going to be covering a lot of stuff. And then tomorrow night, live with JD for Tuesday Night Titans. Next time I'm going to be with you live here on this channel will be the Dynamite Post Show. That'll be coming up on Wednesday, so hopefully you guys will be joining me here for that. Always good to have you with me. Until then, be well. Stay safe. Have yourselves a great rest of your night. Go back and check out Sound Off 856. Well, you could check out 856, but I hope you check out 956 as well. I was only 100 episodes off. Don't mind me. See you back here on Wednesday night. Take care, guys.